Hello students, in this session we are going to learn about section formula and midpoint formula. So let us first see how do we derive section formula, because once you have section formula you can derive midpoint formula easily, right? So what do we do in section formula? Let us see here. In section formula, if I take any 2 points A and B, right? So here if I am taking any 2 points A and B, and if you join A and B you get line segment AB. Now it's written here point P divides AB internally. So P is a point somewhere between A and B, right, which is dividing. Now if you will see, P is dividing line segment AB into two parts, which is AP and PB, right? And if you take, because it's dividing in some ratio, it can be 1:1 ratio, means it will be midpoint. 1:2 means one part is two times the other part, right? So here that ratio is m1 is to m2, right? So here how to get the coordinates of P here? If it is P is dividing AB into m1 is to m2, how do we find out the coordinates of P? We use section formula. So let us see here how do we derive the section formula, right? So if you will see here, this is the figure where if you will see the AB is now A and B are the 2 points in the quadrant, first quadrant, right? You can see that here. This is point A, right? This is point B, and it is what are the coordinates of A? X1, Y1. Coordinates of B is X2, Y2. P is a point which is having coordinates X and Y, and AP is to PB, it's nothing but M1 is to M2. Now this ratio, you remember, whenever you will get it, it will be always positive, right? The ratio can never be negative. So how are we going to use this? So let us see here. Now here, because I need to find out first length, right? You can see that here two triangles AQP and PCB, right? Now these two triangles, because I'm talking about the length of these two triangles, and you can see that these two triangles are not congruent, right? So first let us find out the length. So what is going to be length of this AQ side here? So let me first write down all the length of all the sides. AQ length is going to be, because this length on the x-axis is x1. Now to till point OS it is x, and till point B it is x2, right? This is because this is the coordinate will be x2, this coordinate will be x, this coordinate is going to be x1, right? So what is going to be this length from the if I'm taking here AQ length, it is nothing but OS minus OR. Now, what is the length of OS? It is X minus X1, right? So we can write down here X minus X1. You should have all these length, right? Similarly, here, if I talk about PC, PC is another horizontal, this horizontal length PC of triangle PCB. Right now, if you want to find out this length, how are you going to take it here? Total length is x2, and I have to remove. See, if you'll see here, this total length is x2, and if I remove length till x, I will be left with only this length, right? So how are we going to take it here? PC length is going to be OT minus OS. Now what is the length of OT? We know that it is x2 minus x. So you got PC as x2 minus x, AQ as x minus x1. Similarly here, what else we can do it? We can do the same thing for the vertical length. So how to get PQ? Now if you will see here, because the coordinates are here A, so the length till here it is going to be y1, right? Till point A you can mark like this, and till point Q this is your y, this is your y1, and till here this length B, it is nothing but y2. So I need the length of this segment. So what is this length here? First let me finish this. Then here, what is this length here? Y2 minus y. So your PQ length is going to be here. PQ length, if I'm trying to find out here, this is the PQ length, right? So it is going to be y minus y1. So PQ length, if I find out here, it is going to be PQ is going to be PS minus QS. PS is Y minus Y1. This is your PQ length. Similarly, if I am finding here PQ is done, BC length, BC is nothing but BT minus CT. BT total length is Y2 minus total here CT length is Y. So we are I'm getting length of all these sides of the triangle in terms of x1, y1, x2, y2 and xy, right? Other than that, you know that it's already given here AP because the length it is the ratio is dividing m1 here. And what is the length of PB? I can take it here. PB length is nothing but M2. Now, how are we going to use it? Now, these two triangles, if you will see, right? I can erase this so you can see the triangles properly here. Now, this is based on this formula derivation is based on similarity. Now, if you will see these two triangles, because this is perpendicular, you can see here this is 90 degree, and if I extend this, these two lines are going to be parallel, so this angle is equals to this angle because it is going to be why these two angles are equal, these two of them are corresponding angle. Now how the correspondence is there, A corresponds to P, Q corresponds to C, and here P corresponds to B also, right? So let us see here, Q corresponds to this and P corresponds to B, right? So let us first write down here triangle AQP, right, is similar to triangle A corresponds to P, Q corresponds to C, and again P corresponds to B because P is a common point, common vertex in both the triangles. Now using this is a similarity, right? So how do you do it? Because I'm talking about the length, I have to derive the formula x and y value. So let us take any two similar triangles, the corresponding sides ratio are equal. So what are going to be corresponding side here? Look at here. Whenever I'm taking AQ corresponds to PC, QP corresponds to CB, and AP corresponds to PB, right? So how do we write down here? AQ by PC equals to QP by CB equals to AP by PB. Now you are already having all these length here. What is the length of AQ here? X minus x1. So can I write on here x minus x1 by PC length is going to be here PC length we have already calculated as x2 minus x. So let us take here x2 minus x equals to here what is the length of QP? QP is nothing but PQ length. So that is y minus y1 by what is the length of CB? CB or BC, it is same because it's a length. So this is Y2 minus Y, and AP is to PB is nothing but M1 is to M2, right? We generally take it as a common here because this is the ratio. It is the fact, you can take a common factor here, but that gets cancelled. So you will be left with M1 by M2 only. Now, how are you going to take it here? First, you equate these two, make X as a subject, then you will make these two comparison to get the Y as a subject, to get the Y coordinate. So let us start solving this. So first, if I take here the first and last ratio, so how can we take it here? X minus x1 by x2 minus x equals to m1 by m2. Do the cross multiplication. There are two terms. Please put bracket. This is m2 x minus x1 equals to m1 x2 minus x, right? Open the bracket here. M2 x minus m2 x1 equals to m1 x2 minus m1 x. Now x terms, put it together and take So how can we take it here? I'll take transpose this to right side. I'll bring this to left side and m2x1 to the right side. So how we are going to write down here? m2x plus m1x equals to here m1x2 plus m2x1, right? And because I need the value of x, take x as common factor. I can write on m1 plus m2 plus m1 equals to m1 x2 plus m2 x1, right? Similarly, so here what is the x coordinate here? We are reaching to x coordinate formula m1 x2 plus m2 x1 by m1 plus m2. I just rearrange because it's addition. I can change the order. So this is your x coordinate of p. So this is nothing but the formula, right? Similarly, if I do the comparison of these two terms, y minus y1. So what is next one? Y minus y1 by y2 minus y equals to m1 by m2. Again, you will do the cross multiplication, and if you are going to do the simplification, you will get it here. I'm just writing similarly because you don't get derivation of this formula, right? So what are we going to get it? Y is equals to m1 y2 plus m2 y1 by m1 plus m2. So this is the y coordinate of your point P, which is dividing AB internally, right? So what is the coordinate here? So x is going to be this, right? X coordinate, and y coordinate is this. So what is your section formula? If you will see here, section formula is section formula for P, any point, right? I'm just writing this. So in place of x coordinate, remember when you are taking first ratio, it is the second x coordinate. If you are taking the second ratio, it is the first x coordinate by sum of these two ratio, right? This is your x coordinate. We are going to write down in ordered pair form. So put here comma. Similarly, again here m1 y2. So first ratio with second y coordinate plus m2 y1. So second ratio with first y coordinate by sum of the ratio, right? So here this is whenever you will solve the question, because I have taken p x y, the coordinates of p as x and y. So you will see that the comparison, x coordinate you will get it using this, y coordinate you will get it using the second part, right? Now what happens sometime if any point is there on x-axis, the y coordinate becomes 0 and you can easily get the ratio, right? So this is your section formula. Hope you got this. Then what is the second part of this? We spoke about here midpoint formula. Now midpoint, why do we use section formula here? Because again, if I take a line segment, right? I am taking here line segment again here AB. Now this is your midpoint formula, right? So just see the derivation of formula because you should know why we are using these formulas. Now this is line AB. Now midpoint means the P is now going to be midpoint of AB. That means this part is equals to this part. So what is this here? AP is equals to BP, right? That means P is the midpoint of AB, right? Now my coordinates are same. The coordinate of A is, if it is x1, y1, the coordinates of P is x comma y, and the coordinates of B is x2, y2. Now whenever, remember, if P is the midpoint, your ratio, which is m1 is to m2, midpoint, it is always 1 is to 1. That means what is the value of m1? It is 1. Value of m2 is also 1. And in the section formula, if I substitute here p of xy, so if I substitute here 1x1, right? So it will be 1, m1 as 1. So it is going to be 1 into x2, x2 plus x1 by 1 plus 1, right? Similarly, m value is 1, so it is y2 plus y1 by 1 plus 1, because your m1 is to m2 is 1 is to 1. So how are we going to get it here? Your midpoint formula is going to be right here. Midpoint formula is x1, I'm just rearranging because in sum follows commutative property, x1 plus x2 by 2, and here y1 plus y2 by 2, because your ratio is 1 is to 1, that's why you get this formula. So you don't need to derive the formula, but you have to remember this formula, midpoint formula, and you have to remember section formula to solve the questions, right? So this is the derivation. Hope you understood this. We will see the questions in the next session. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, share and subscribe. Also, keep practicing.